Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from learning or listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Nadia. Nadia is the founder and principal career coach behind Beyond Discovery Coaching. She helps clients design and build happy and fulfilling careers. Through this work, she helps build your confidence, ensuring that you know what you want from your career and how to make it happen. Nadia is here to talk openly about her life, her challenges, and how her career now is impacting people all over the world. Welcome, lady.
Thank you so much for having me, Sabrina. Good to see you. Happy morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are broadcasting from, and just super wonderful to connect with you.
Yes, thank you. 100%. I am in South Florida.
So beautiful, sunshiny weather. Where I'm in Ohio, where it was 9 degrees this morning.
You know what's funny about that is over the weekend, I think it got down to maybe 40. Hadn't checked the weather, and we were going to like a mountain bike race thing with some friends to help support. And, it was chilly, but in Florida, usually it's, it might be chilly in the morning because the sun isn't out. And then before you know it, it's 80 degrees. Well, it didn't happen. It literally was 40 the entire day. So we're in some strange town, like an hour south from us. So we have to navigate, like go through all the traffic to like get out of this place, find the closest Walmart, bought a bunch of sweatshirts and sweatpants for everybody from Walmart, so that we could stay warm. But yeah, 30 or 40 degrees for us was like freezing.
Yes. Yeah. It's a Florida chili. It has some legitimacy. I just spent 3 weeks in Florida for the holidays, and we had a couple of nights where I go, oof, I got to put on my little jacket. It's getting a little chilly in here. And I said, oh my God, I've been in Florida too long.
Exactly. I remember living in Chicago, and when the temperature would raise to probably 40, we'd start walking around with t-shirts on. It's just so crazy. Yeah.
So weird. That's 40 degrees.
Yeah. It's so funny how that happens. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I so appreciate you taking some time out of your day to talk about your story, your journey, what you do, who you are, and introduce yourself to our community and kind of, the experiences that you've been through in your life to kind of help us navigate through our own crap that we're going through. So what I would love to do is just kind of open the floor to you and kind of, hear your story, your journey, the situations that, you've kind of been put through in your life that you're comfortable talking about, and then just kind of open up from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I am, as you pointed out, a career coach, and the type of coaching that I do is called holistic coaching. So I really work with clients holistically. So emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, and of course, physical health, and in the intersectionality of those things, not only in our work life, as we've learned over the past couple of years, but bringing work home with us, and having that commonality of living at home, working at home, raising children at home, all of the things at home, right? So it's been a really fun way to go about my own journey from a holistic perspective, not only, like I said, as a career coach and someone in the more professional space, but also in the personal space as well. and really gaining clarity around the directionality of my career, as you pointed out, the impact and influence and connectivity that I have with those around me, and just getting way more in touch with myself. We always say that in counseling, in order to show up for others, you have to show up for yourself. And that is exceptionally true in coaching as well. So I had a pretty traditional childhood experience. Absolutely loved high school, which I know is like a weird thing. Went into college, absolutely loved college. I stayed at universities for my entire career. So in my full-time job, I'm a university professor, teaching, mentoring, and bringing up, if you will, the next generation of scholars and folks within the American system. And what's been really fun is being able to work with people in so many different stages of life. Even though I work at a university and we're quite traditional 18 to 22-year-olds, I work with straight white males. I work with BIPOC, LGBTQ women, just really across the board kind of intersectionality, between majors, between identities, between upbringings and journeys and stories. So it's been a really fun way. I think, doing coaching and connecting with other people has just really given my life a lot of purpose and direction in terms of kind of where I see myself going.
That's awesome. I love that. How long have you been working for a university?
Yeah, so I started university myself in 2002, and by that summer, I had my first college job.
Nice.
So yeah, I was the student who worked on campus all 4 years. I worked for the Disability Services Office, the Athletic Office, doing RA stuff, like literally all of the student leadership-y things that you can imagine. And then did a master's in higher ed administration from a Boston-based university, and graduated 2013. No, that's not right, 2011, and have been working full-time as either a university administrator or a faculty member just a little over 10, 11 years now, which is a crazy thing to say because I'm 38 and I feel 22 still.
Believe me. Yeah, same. I'm 39 and same thing. I'm like, I feel like I hover right around 26. Like I like just
That's
hover
great.
around 26. Yeah, right? You're like old enough, you know some things. And your body's looking a little different. Now that I'm in my 40s, I'm finding myself like going like this a lot. I'm like, I just wanted to kind of go like this, just like a little like this.
Yeah, right.
It's just funny how that happens. Well, that's awesome. So, one of the issues that, individuals who have hit their mid 30s have run into many times is failures, 1, 2, 10 failures, some point in your life. What's been your biggest failure and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, this is a great question. And if you are interviewing, you should be prepared for this question in your interviews. Failure is been such an instrumental part of my career, but also my personal life as well, where every opportunity failure has presented itself. It really is within your reaction to it, right? I did a 5-year undergraduate degree, not because I knew what the heck I was doing, but because my original plan was to go to law school. And so I did, a 3-year undergraduate degree with the intentionality of then going into law school. I did a study abroad in between my 3rd and 4th year to Athens, Greece. And I was that kid who totally picked their study abroad location because it was nice. And there were beaches and it was the summer and it was one of the easier classes for sure. But I have to admit, it changed the trajectory of my life, that I fell in love with internationalization. I fell in love with travel, pushing my boundaries, getting out of my comfort zone. And when I came back to campus that fall semester, I realized, I don't think this lawyer thing going into law school was really for me. Wow. I did complete my degree in law and then did a second undergraduate major in sociology. So the other side of the pendulum in terms of interconnecting with people. And then that really led me to having an amazing academic advisor, study abroad advisor, so the folks that had the biggest influence on me. And then I did a master's in higher ed administration. So what I always kind of advocate to folks is failure is inevitable. It should be part of your journey because it shows that you're pushing yourself. It shows that you're getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And how you take that on and how you pivot, how you bring that on board, how you use that as an information source to say, you know what, I think I need to take a beat here and really think about what's happening, right? Is this really the trajectory I want? Is this really bringing me joy? Is this really fulfilling my excitement and engagement about what's happening in my life right now? And don't see it as a negative. I tell my clients, my students all the time, if you apply to 10 jobs and you get 10 interviews and you get 10 offers, that's great. But also build in some failure, right? Push yourself to the unimaginable, push yourself into that level where you're going to get some reach opportunities, right? Because when we reach is when we grow.
100%. Can you expand a little bit on the word pivot for those that maybe don't understand what that means?
Sure. So pivoting for some people looks quite drastic, right? For others like myself, it is very small baby steps, shall we say, into something new or even adjacent. So my own career, my own personal life, for example, I work a full-time job in academia teaching professionalism and the job search and empowerment within the job search and basically how to help people get jobs. In my private business, I career coach people on how to get jobs. So not a huge pivot, right? Very similar functional area skill set, very similar task orientation. Where the difference lies is in doing fun stuff like this, right? Getting to connect with people on a more humanistic level, getting to work with people that don't fit my primary demographic in my full-time job, and getting to play in the possibilities. We love that expression in coaching because when you play in the possibilities, that's where innovation usually thrives. That's where the unexpected usually manifests. And so pivoting for some, it is a full-on change of life. For most of us, we are not comfortable with that level of risk, right? I'm not going to quit my, $200,000 job to become an artist who I may or may not sell my art, right? For some of us, that's scary. We got mortgages, we have kids, we have bills, right? But for many of us, there are ways that we can make small little pivots towards things that, over the long haul or more of a longer term, vision really are quite instrumental in moving us in a direction that we feel most comfortable with pace and timing.
100%. I agree with that. Now, speaking of failures and the industry that you're in, what are some areas in which you're seeing people failing as far as finding the right career for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it right there, the right career. I really am a huge advocate that you create what right means to you.
I like that.
So I talk a lot about building and designing a career versus let me give you this personality test or let me give you this vocation test that says, hey, you're very judgmental, you're a good reader, you're a good, speaker, and you're very interested in argumentation. You know what? You should become a lawyer, right? Where those are skills and extroversion is part of your personality or introversion is part of your personality. It is a part of you, but it does not define you, right? So having the opportunity to be more intentional with how you are designing your life, how you're designing your career, how you're building it, the people that you surround yourself with, the education that you put in front of you. And I don't mean fancy $100,000 four-year education. I mean the things that you Google on YouTube, right? Just the people you connect with. Right now, I'm learning about city planning. I have no idea what the hell city planning is, but it's super fun and I really enjoy it. And like, how do cities become towns or villages and all these different things, right? I'm not moving into that. But for me, as a lifelong learner, it's super fun, super exciting, and I really love that. I think from a career perspective, doing more of what you love and defining the things that constitute good work for you. For some people, showing up to work, collecting a paycheck, that's good work for them. That is fulfilling the needs of what they require in that moment, right then, right now. When I was in college, sitting at the front desk from, midnight to 8 in the morning in my residence hall for $6 an hour, which at that time was good money. That's what I needed, right? That was good work for me. I could study, I could work on my homework, I could watch DVDs. Again, I'm dating myself here, but yeah, it was what work meant to me at the time, right? As I've evolved and aged, but mostly evolved in my career of what brings me joy, what excites me, and what engages me. My definition of what good work means for me has changed, and thus finding the right career is really more so about, if I don't like something that's happening in my career, or I like something that is happening in my career, how can I be more aware and more intentional of nurturing that, creating that, designing that, and ultimately executing that within my career. So, failing in this respect is having this very narrow definition of what success means to you. And if you fail at achieving that success, making a certain amount of money, having a certain job title, getting perfect grades or whatever, it really does not give yourself the opportunity to play in the possibilities, to say, hey, you know what, I am good at all of these things, but what are other options that I can look at beyond Captain Obvious, right?
Of course, yeah, of course. I love that you're still, even at this point, dabbling in other things, and I think that is something that all of us could really learn from, because you never know what it could pivot into in the future. So that's so interesting. What made you look into cities, building cities? Like, what even did you watch a
Oh my
Netflix
gosh.
a
Yes.
Netflix show that kind of, what made you do that? So off the wall.
Yes, this is where my nerdism comes out. I watch a ton of YouTube videos, and I am by no means sponsored by YouTube. I would happily take their money, but I am not. And I found a guy on YouTube called City Planner Plays, and he is a real bona fide, real life city planner. I think he's up in Wisconsin, and there's a city building game that you can get for PC called City Skylines, and it's just this total creative ride where you get to create cities and have some real life connectivity between municipality work and city planning, and how people react to things within the game. So it's definitely a simulation game. It's been on the market for some time, but it has huge traction, and there's a lot of YouTubers who just jump on Twitch and other things and play these games. So one night flipping through, I'm like, oh, what's this PC game? Let me give it a look here. And then when I found out he was a real city planner, he treats it almost kind of like a masterclass of saying, hey, I'm doing this because this would happen in the real world, or I'm doing this because it's a game and it's fun, and this would never happen in the real world, right? Like, we could never use, eminent domain to take away someone's driveway to put in this beautiful bike path. That would never get politically approved in America, but it's so fun to conceptualize what that looks like in the game. So, I'm sure people have more chill hobbies, like, just vegging out on Netflix, or, doing more healthy hobbies like yoga and working out. For me, learning about city planning is cool.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so interesting. And I learned something new, because I didn't even know there was games like that. So I have a 17-year-old son, and he plays Fortnite. That's it. Just Fortnite for hours. In my world, it's just there's not a whole lot of anything else. So that's interesting. I love that there's such a wide variety with that. So I want to ask, as far as, individuals who are looking to get into a career, right out of college, or pivot into a new career, and maybe they don't really know how to start or where to start, but they don't necessarily want to invest in like a career coach right now. Are there any other ways of doing it? Is there any like free options out there to kind of help guide people through the process of that.
Yeah. So I kind of have two camps on this. One is careers is not curing cancer. There's a 99.99% probability that someone in the world has done what you want to do before you, right? So literally it's networking. It's finding people who have done maybe 5 years ahead of you, 10 years ahead of you, 15 years ahead of you, and just put yourself out there, network, and say, hey, Sabrina, you're doing some really cool things, and I just want to get in front of you and talk with you and hear your story and figure out, how you've been successful in your life and what does that mean to you, and how has that evolved, within your life and in your career, right? You can learn a lot from others. And that's why I say, career exploration and career clarity and career clustering or pathing, whatever terminology you subscribe to. It's not that hard. It really is the motivation, the empowerment, the audacity to raise your hand and say, hi, I'm Nadia. Sabrina, you're doing cool stuff. Would you want to connect? Right. And that's where that getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable really comes in, because not every single person do you reach out to is going to give you the time of day, right? Like not everybody is as welcoming and open and available as you made yourself, Sabrina, to me. Right. Yeah. So, some people would say, you send 10 LinkedIn messages, for example, and you hear back from 2. Oh, that's a 20% conversion rate. How terrible is that, right? Some of it's a numbers game, of course, as with anything. But instead of focusing on the 8 people who didn't respond, ghosted, were unhelpful, what can you do with those 2 people who said yes?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Some other free resources, people like me, I have social media. I have a blog with 6 other contributors who tell our story. Not everybody's story is the same. Like you said, we all have different lived experiences. I have a learned experience within careers and career coaching. So I read a lot of scholarship. I'm meant to be creating scholarship in the space of careers and professionalism as a university professor, but then also just in my own life, right? Of the more people I get in front of, the more people I talk to, the more stories that I hear, that incites me, right? That gets me excited. That's that questions things within me. That's oh, cool. That's really cool that you did that. How can I interpret that? How can I reflect on that? How can I use that in my own journey going forward? So definitely blogs. I know people don't like reading long content anymore, but if somebody tells you what you should do with your career in 140 characters, I would question its validity. There's some work in our lives that you need to put in the time. If you don't have the money, invest the time, invest the mental commitment, invest the physical commitment, and the emotional of putting yourself out there, asking for what you need, understanding what you need from your network and within yourself. And even if you don't have the money, totally fine. The last thing, and it does cost a little money, however, I'm a huge advocate of it, is the book called Designing Your Life. And that is really great for people who, as you pointed out, are making a pivot or are just starting their career. I teach this in one of the courses at my university, and Designing Your Life book came out of Stanford. It's two professors out in Stanford, but it has mass, general market appeal. It's a New York Times bestseller. You can get it on Amazon for $20-$25. And even if you don't buy it, Google it. There are free worksheets. There are chapters of the book put out online, videos from the professors themselves talking about designing your life. And again, its whole subscription is around designing and building something that works for you. We don't just have one perfect version of ourselves and the opportunities and career pathing ahead of us. We think of things in a multitude of ways, right? So in I was the 1970s and I was a salesperson selling Encyclopedia Britannica, right? I'm worried about my job in 2022, right? I don't have a job. Or the first company, AOL, who was charging for website browsing, right? You in industry, you get outmoded, you get replaced, you get automatized, right? So to be able to reimagine and redefine your career, not once, not twice. Some people it's 3 to 5, 7, 8 times in their lifetime, to really accommodate where you are with things and what's happening in the market, what's happening in your personal life. So the internet's going to be your best friend. There are definitely long form, content out there. And then people, as much as we talk about the job search being technical with, optimization of your LinkedIn and your resume and job boards and all that stuff, people want to hire people. People, especially right now when we're working from home and people need to be autonomous, people need to be empowered to make decisions on their own in a virtual setting, right? People want to hire people they trust, that come recommended, that have a level of confidence in their own ability to manage themselves, and ultimately feel good about, right? That I don't know what it was about Sabrina. I just had a good feeling about her, and that comes from somewhere, right? And usually that's familiarness, it's sameness, it's likeness, it's having good interview conversations or networking conversations that break down all the professionalism and really just have two human beings sitting across the table from each other.
Absolutely. I agree with you. While you were talking, I kind of was like envisioning somebody doing this. And, you mentioned the internet or, LinkedIn would probably be another good one. Individuals who are interested in a certain category, topic, career, whatever, would you recommend them to reach out to people who already have that position and just kind of like, "Hey, will you chat with me?" Is that
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, ask this fastball questions, you can come in with some softballs just to loosen up. But ask really specific questions like, what do you hate about your job? What's your number one
Wow.
most challenging thing? What have you failed at? And how's your management support, right? You can get some really honest, authentic conversation and dialogue going when you're willing to go there.
Yeah.
You can approach people on two strategy fronts. One is if you are specifically interested in a company. So, hey, I want to get hired at Google or Dell or, whoever. Find people who work at Google, find people who work at Facebook, right? Ask them the hard questions. The other way to do it is just to find people that are already connected to you in some way, people that you admire, people, like you said, who have a job title that you aspire to or are inspired by, and ask those bigger questions, right? I don't think that I want to become a full-time podcaster or full-time marketer, but that doesn't prevent me from finding someone who's willing to talk in that space and just more understand their story and more understand how they got to where they are. It's been something that I've definitely been acutely aware of the previous entrepreneurs who've had that conversation with me when I was starting my business. I just actually did an Instagram conversation with someone last night up in Canada, who literally just filed their version of LLC like last week. She's working in academia, doing a part-time side hustle. And yeah, just being able to do that whole entrepreneurship 10% thing, right? I'm 10% ahead of where you are, so I have a little bit of authority. Let me tell you what to do, what not to do. Take the stuff that works for you, leave the stuff that doesn't work for you. And at the end of the day, you've made a connection, if not anything else.
100%. I love that you just brought up the word side hustle, because that's kind of, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about as far as, I see a lot of back and forth, with a lot of that. I'm a huge advocate of Gary Vaynerchuk, huge advocate of Grant Cardone, and a lot of times they have differing thoughts as far as a side hustle or focusing on only one thing and one thing only. So I kind of wanted your input on that as far as, what does that mean? What is it? Should we have one? Should we not have one? For me, it seems like a good way to kind of step into possibly a pivot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely what you just said. It's a great way to move into an area that, you want to take a little bit of time to get into. I can go back and forth on the whole focus of attention,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I tend to be pretty committed to the things in which I have an interest and focus on. But I tend to move through them and revisit them quite frequently. So right now, I'm a university professor teaching my full-time job. I adjunct for a couple of business classes. I have my side hustle. I'm learning city planning. I'm getting my third master's in marketing right now. So for me, it's not putting all my eggs into one basket and not having one big thing that is like a laser focus attention on. With that, though, when I am showing up in those buckets or those spaces, right? Like tonight, I've got assignments due in one of my marketing classes. When I'm in it, I'm fully in it. I am 100% committed to what's in front of me at that time, right? Same with our conversation today. Before this, I was on university calls. After this, I'm going through university training. So I understand that not everybody operates that way, right? In order to give their full selves to something, they need to let other things go. For me, it keeps it fun. It keeps it exciting. It's a little manic at times, but that's what works for me. I have ADHD. I have always been intellectually stimulated in a multitude of different areas. I don't have kids. I don't have pets, right? So this is me. This is I know this about myself of operating at 125 to 150% at all times.
Yes.
So it really needs to fit you.
Yeah.
What do you want from your side hustle or side business? Why? Right? I'm a huge Simon Sinek fan, and starting with why. And
Yes.
there's so many people who do what I do, right? And they probably do it better, and they probably charge more money than I do, and they have bigger social media audiences and bigger reaches and all that stuff. I don't even look at that. I focus on why am I doing the things that I'm doing and how do I feel about that? Again, that intersectionality of emotion in our work is instrumental and it's key. And when you get to a point that things are no longer serving you, and that's even true within my business. I love writing. I love my content creation, but it's not really a good use of my time to sit and create 45 graphics on Canva to post to Instagram, right? And it's taking a step back and say, just because I can do these things doesn't mean I should be, or there isn't a better way to do it, or this is no longer serving me personally, right?
Yeah.
I don't think everyone does need a side hustle. If you feel as if though you are fulfilled within your work, your needs are being met, and you're happy with that, don't fix what ain't broke, right? Get real with it. Versus where I was coming from was wanting to connect with other human beings outside of my core demographic at the university, right? Getting to dabble in the possibilities, getting to explore identities beyond my own, right? And so, yeah, I very much subscribe to the hustle culture and boss lady and all that stuff when I was younger. Now that as we're saying about getting older in our career, now for me, it's really about doing less. And not in a lazy way of do less, but it really is being more intentional with the things that you're doing. How is it serving you? How is it bringing, just fulfillment to your life, and just getting rid of all the stuff that is no longer serving you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that word, more intentional, because I think all of us can be living our life that way and thinking that way, you know.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. And for a lot of people, it's the New Year wake up call. The amount of people who DM me or sent me, on Instagram or LinkedIn or, just inquired on my website. they're like, well, it's January, my job still sucks. I guess I should probably do some career coaching, right? We have these, kind of cyclical opportunities, right? January for many people in the New Year's time. For my students, it's usually graduation, May, August, December, where it goes, all right, I've gotten here. I don't know where here is, but I need to figure out where I'm going next, right?
Yeah.
So if you've been waiting for hey, this is your time, for many people, this is your time. I'm going to post on Instagram tomorrow. If you've been waiting for a sign that you need to update your resume, the new year is a very good time to do that. Not saying you need to go out and get a new job tomorrow, but just having it in your mind, being more aware. What are your 2022 goals? How are you going to achieve them? SMART goals, right? How will you know when you've achieved them? Putting some metrics in place and really connecting with that so that your work life, your personal life, your whatever life has purpose, it has direction, and you feel like you are working towards something.
Yeah, you mentioned a resume. Should we be updating our resume even if we are in a career? Like, is that like that's something we should be doing like every couple of years or something?
So yeah, it's interesting you say that. So my new role that I just took at my university as a faculty member, I only get reviewed once every 3 years. And that's super intimidating to me because I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to remember what I did 3 years ago when I can't even remember what I did 30 minutes ago or 3 weeks ago, right? And for me, what I do, and people feel comfortable in different ways with this, have a book, have a folder, virtual, digital. I prefer Excel or OneNote. And I just literally have a running list, not every day, but maybe once a week, of my successes, my challenges, my accomplishments, things that I'm proud of, growth opportunities that I could have done something better, I could have said something differently, and then how I plan to work on that going forward. So it can be for some people bullet journaling. For others like me, it's a more organized, formal Excel spreadsheet. And unless you are looking for a new job, for most people, it's just always ticking along in the background, and you update it when you feel like you need to update it. Once a year is a very good rule of thumb for just straight up working professionals, right? For young professionals, probably once a quarter, if not once every 6 months, because you are learning so much. And as a young person, you're saying yes to all the opportunities, right? You're getting pulled into projects and given opportunities to grow, right? Not to say that we don't grow in our late 30s and early 40s, but we have a groove, right? We feel good about our work. I am to the point now where, again, I'm learning incremental things throughout my day, right?
Yeah.
And that lead to something bigger. So for young professionals, college students, for sure, probably once a quarter, once every 6 months. For working professionals, probably once a year. That typically aligns with most organizations' annual review. So updating your resume for an annual review and being able to bring all of that data to your supervisor and say, hey, let's talk about a promotion. Hey, let's talk about a raise here, because I've brought the receipts on how good of a job that I've been doing, my impact and my value within this organization.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And the other thing that I was kind of thinking about while you were talking is the excuses. So, before I got into what I do, there would be times when I hated my job so much, and I'd be like, screw this, I'm going to find a new job. All I have to do is just write up a resume. And it was always that whole thing of like having to create the resume is what kept me in my job for so much longer. Because you can't move forward with anything until you have that piece of paper like set. And so then everything would like calm down, then it's chilled. I still hate my job though. So then you stay a little long, then something catastrophic. And then I gotta find a new job. This sucks, but I just have to create that resume. So if we do what you're telling us to do and just always kind of have it at a good point, you might just have to add a couple sentences. But instead of going like the entire work career without writing anything down and having to like mentally figure out how to write down all the crap that you do every single day, to update it. That is absolutely brilliant. And I've never thought of that. That's great.
Yeah, and I'll also say, I have used myself a resume writer, and it was a dang good looking resume.
Wow.
I looked at it and said, "Is that me?" Right? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. What I do in my coaching is much more coaching versus doing. So I work with clients to understand the value of a resume, why you need one, how it needs to differ from LinkedIn, how it needs to be a companion to your cover letter. Yes, you need to write a cover letter. And I really empower and teach people how to write their own resumes, not for the job that you're looking for today, but to your point, for every single job after that. Because you do need to reimagine what your resume looks like. I would not use the same resume to get my faculty job as I would my administration job. And that's still even in the same industry, even the same university, let alone if you want to move from a nonprofit role into corporate or academia into an international position in a foreign country that doesn't even use our type of formatted resumes that we do here in the US, right? So understanding and teaching how to do the resume is going to be such a much better investment in yourself, because again, you're investing in yourself versus a resume writer. And I have written resumes for people. So, this is not me saying boo resume writers, because I am one myself. But it's understanding that analogy of, fishing and teaching people how to fish and all that stuff, right? Teach someone how to fish and they can eat for a lifetime versus me just giving you fish or selling you fish.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? If you're comfortable paying a resume writer every time you need a new resume for a new job or updates or whatever, empowerment, do that. You got the money, honey, use the money. If you want to make the investment in yourself, in teaching yourself how to do it and feeling some authenticity and genuineness and connectedness to your resume, learn how to do it. Take the time, invest in yourself, because that was really the part that was missing from my own resume. That I looked at it and it didn't feel me. It didn't feel authentic. Wow. I said, I would hire this person, and I'm not sure this person is me, right? So it's getting to a place where whatever your materials look like, and I do have templates and examples I share with clients. So it gives you some ideas, but ultimately it needs to reflect you. It needs to feel good to you.
Awesome. For those that are watching live, we appreciate your support. And I want to ask Nadia, as far as like a list, obviously we're talking about resumes here. Obviously that's something that you're highlighting for us. And I've never even thought about that. That's brilliant. But what else should we be kind of like thinking about when we're looking to kind of pivot or change into a new career? Is there like a couple of things that we should be doing actively as we're kind of looking into something else?
Yeah, absolutely. So two fronts I start with are financial and value, right? So it's very easy for me to say, hey, leave your $500,000 job and to find value in your life, right? Of course, it's easy for me to say that because I don't assume responsibility for your bills or your children or your mortgage or whatever, right?
Good point, yeah.
So the first thing you need to figure out is, well, maybe not the first, but congruently, the first couple of things is where do you need to be? Not where you want to be, but where do you literally need to be, right? I talk a lot about this with young professionals, like college age students going into their first role, because of course we all want to make more money. If somebody offers me 70K, I'm probably going to say yes, right? But I could also probably get away with making 50 because right now I make 0. So 0 to 50 is a pretty still good jump, right?
Yeah.
So at minimum, sort your finances. Many of us stay at very unhealthy, toxic jobs that we know are bad for us purely because of money. Mm-hmm. Purely because of money, right? That we're grown-ups, we got bills, we got to pay them. This gives me a paycheck. Yeah. That's fine for now, but don't settle in that space, right? The second thing is, and again, throwing it back to Simon Sinek, figure out your why. Why are you unhappy in your role? Why are you seeking work, different types of work, or different teams or different modalities? And what does that need to look like for you? So that when you read a job description, you go in for interviews, what do you need to hear? What do you need to see in that culture, in that environment, out of that manager, out of that future boss, right? So that you have some positioning or an assessment scale that you can say, wow, this is a good job. It pays my bills and I like the people. Like, that's a win for me, right? So figure out your finances, figure out your why, and then lastly, figure out your relationship with work. Again, as we, I don't want to say age, but as we move into different generational cohorts, right? Where, I originally started my business in anticipation for retirement. And at the time I was 36 years old. And I'm already thinking about retirement. And, creating this for myself feels like I'm taking care of myself. This is something that I can do independent from my full-time job, independent from my hobbies, independent from my have-tos, right? This for me, career coaching privately, is I get to do these things, and I find value in that and excitement in that. So thinking about your relationship with work, again, I can't stress enough, what does good work mean to you? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And how do you know you have it when you do or don't have it? So there's a lot of probing questions that a career coach could move you through. The last exercise you can do is a daily journal. It is part of the Designing Your Life exercises from that book, of literally cataloging every single one of your tasks in your current role and understanding your excitement in doing those tasks and understanding your engagement in doing those tasks, right? And ultimately, you want more of the things that you're doing at work being exciting, whatever that means to you. And you want it to be something that you are genuinely connected to and engaged to do, right? Not because you should or you have to, or if I don't do this, I'm going to get fired, but that you willingly go into, right? Because ultimately, that's what brings us joy, and that what brings us happiness, right? I know as you as an entrepreneur, me as an entrepreneur, there's no one standing behind me here or anywhere else behind you saying, do these things, you have to do them. If you don't do them, this is going to happen, right? That's all intrinsic. That comes from within. And if you don't have a good sense of directionality and purpose within your work, that motivation will come and go, and often go.
Yeah. 100%. Yes, I agree with that. I kind of want to flip it back to you a little bit. We've been talking a lot about us and stealing a lot of goodies from you. What's the number one lesson you've learned about life through your journey?
I think the number one lesson that I've learned is to be open about how other people see you. And I say that as someone within the LGBTQ community who never really saw myself as part of that culture or community in general, who never really sought to be a role model or activist or an example for other people or younger people. And the older I've gotten, my position within the university, being able to connect with people who have come to their identities or orientations later in their life, understanding that this isn't about me. This is not about my insecurities. This is not about my perception of other people's beliefs and whatnot. It really is just living my authentic life. And if I can be open and a resource for other people, I'm happy to do that. I can say that comfortably now in my late 30s. I'm much more open to that journey and that conversation and dialogue, and having people look to me as an expert in this area or part of this or whatever, ascribing an identity and kind of biasy toward me, where I wasn't comfortable in my early 20s, right? That I was never going to join the LGBTQ employee resource group. I was never going to go to Pride and wear my my university, sweatshirt, right? That there was a clear delineation between my work life and my personal life.
Yeah.
And I think that some of it comes with age, maturity. A lot of it comes from doing the work, sitting in the work, working on yourselves, and understanding this ain't about you. Nobody's coming to you to be the orator of their life, right? Just be you. And however people accept you, however people engage you, however people learn from you, that's their journey. And being okay with yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. As far as, that journey that you're talking about, and the change of mind, I guess, as you've gotten older, I'm sure that there was, belief systems that you kind of had to overcome. When you're talking about, the way that you changed mentally and emotionally. And I'd like to ask, as far as disempowering beliefs, was there a disempowering belief that you had throughout your life? And, what do you believe now? How did you change it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah.
I've experienced that in academia, my full-time job, being an entrepreneur, right? I had a very skewed and biased reference point of what successful entrepreneurship looked like.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you could do it authentically and humanistically and on a scale that works for you, right? Because a lot of the literature, a lot of the culture, like I talked about hustle culture and some of the toxicity around that, really, really, good people, right? Inspiring people, but have different ideological differences from my own in terms of what work means to me and what success means to me, and particularly entrepreneurship. So for me, it was, if I wasn't, and I do love Tony Robbins, but if I wasn't that, right? If I wasn't on social media, I wasn't on video, if I wasn't, just sell, right? For me, it was like, oh, I don't like that at all. I find that very disempowering to myself as an entrepreneur, as a client, as someone, like, I don't like to be marketed towards that way, right? Even though I will watch QVC for like 2 hours straight, but it's really understanding that there are so many different ways that you can run a business. There are so many different ways to be successful in your career, like we had talked about before. And there's so many different ways that you can find value and meaning within your life. And you get to decide what that looks like. As I said earlier, nobody's telling me I have to have a particular brand color for my business. Nobody's telling me my business name has to be what it is. I get to create that. And as soon as you flip the narrative between I have to, because this is what the experts are telling me to do, and this is what the experts are doing, and they're making 6 figures and all that drama, and push it into the I get to, and whatever that looks like for me, no matter if I make $1 or $1 million, it doesn't matter, because I feel good about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've heard a ton of information from you as far as, your coaching and, what you do for the universities and what you do on your own. But I'd like to kind of give you the opportunity to kind of just speak a little bit more as far as your business. What exactly do you do? How exactly do you help all the humans?
Yeah. After I just said, I don't care about making money. Here's
Yeah.
my opportunity to make some money. No. So I position myself first and foremost as an online coach. And I say that because A, technical fluency is a strength of mine. B, I feel like it's the future. Yes, the pandemic pushed that forward very quickly, but it was inevitable, I think, anyways. And then 3, or C, I get to work with people all around the world. And from a cultural perspective, an international perspective, that's really what excites me. Not that I don't work with people from Cincinnati, Ohio, where I live, because I do. But being an online coach just broadens the scale to literally everyone in the world, which is super fun, super exciting. So I do all of my coaching one-to-one. Understanding that there's a finite limit to my time in a day. So I'm very intentional with how I bring clients on, the resources I provide for clients. So there's a lot of independent work, and there's a lot of one-to-one coaching work. I find one-to-one coaching really where people make the biggest shifts within themselves, is that when I can get just one-to-one human-to-human connection and understand where you're at with things, that helps me ask the right questions and push through some of those held beliefs, push through some of those challenges, so that ultimately the client is making that shift. The client is creating those discoveries for themselves. So one-to-one coaching is really about the empowerment. It really is about the client. On the flip side of that, I do things in groups as well, because not everybody's trying to sign up for a shift or an empowerment or a revelation every single time they jump on a career coaching conversation, right? Sometimes you just want to know how to make your resume better, or sometimes you just want to know how to make your LinkedIn better. So I offer free workshops on my website. I offer free content on my blog. I offer free, inspirational quotes and things like that through my Instagram and my LinkedIn. I would say, like I said, the biggest advocacy that I could give someone looking at career coaching or hiring a career coach is to do a discovery call. And a discovery call is 15, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, however long, you ended up chatting with the coach. For me, it tends to be 45 minutes because I'm a talker. But it really is like a first date. And it's saying, all right, Sabrina, where are you at with things? And what are the things you think that I might be able to help with? Because that really helps me understand as a coach if I'm right for you. And then conversely, is you as a client, if you're right for me. I have a very, very robust coaching referral network. So not every single person who DMs me on Instagram or reaches out to me on LinkedIn, am I a good coach for them? I have a network of fellow coaches that I refer out to all the time. I just got a referral this morning from a coach on Instagram, right? So for me, it's about connecting with people, making sure it's a right fit, a good fit, that both the client and the coach are showing up, doing the work, whatever that means to them, and feeling, a shift by the time our work is done. So I do monthly coaching. So I have 3, 6, 9, and 12-month packages. 3 months is where we start with things, and it is typical transactional items like career clarity, exploration work, resume, LinkedIn, interviewing, cover letters, all the things that you need to go through a full job search. Yeah. Longer relationships typically start to integrate some of that work-life balance conversation and coaching. Some of that, particularly, I work with a lot of new managers who have never been trained on how to be a manager or a leader. And hey, now you're managing 5 people and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? Workplace conflict, all of these things that manifest in work are things that I coach through with people. And then, like I said, more of the transactional items where if you just need, coaching around resume and LinkedIn, you just need coaching around interviewing. Those are the more kind of direct things that I coach through. So I see the second part. How do you help humankind? Again, I said that, coaching and particularly in the career space is not, to the level of curing cancer, but I get to work with the people who are in a place to potentially cure cancer. And that's super cool. Yeah. To work with high school students, to work with college students, to work with young professionals, mid-career, senior execs, and, really be that partner for them and so that they can go out and do these amazing things within industry or academia or nonprofit world that I have no idea how to do, and be a support mechanism for them to walk that journey with them. To me, that is the best type of coaching partnership that I could have.
Definitely, definitely. While we're all just hanging out in the world, chilling, I think a majority of us are constantly just searching for success. Searching for their success, searching for their happiness, trying to hit the next level, trying to whatever it is. I want to ask you how you view it. How do you view success? What does it mean to you?
Oh, yeah. After I just got done saying, don't be worrying about what success means. For me, I think I tend to equate success with a feeling. Do I feel good? Do I feel accomplished? Do I feel? And I know it's a hard, kind of concept to understand because we so often affiliate success with our brain, right? I've done a good in metrics, right? SMART goals. And we know we've reached it because some assessment scale or an accrediting body or a professor has told us we had, or a boss or whatever. For me, I'm in a lifelong journey to change that perspective from the headspace on what is success as others define it, and drop down into the heart space to say, what do I feel about that? And if I'm feeling a certain type of way, I need to sit with that, and I need to figure out why that is happening and how I want to move forward. Right. With that, I do create SMART goals. So I'm this ESTJ juxtaposition of like all the feels, but not too much feels, because I got to keep it grounded. I'm a Taurus too, right? We gotta come in with a strategy here. Do I have a top 10 thing list of what I want to accomplish in my business in 2022? Absolutely. Is this experience right here one of them? Absolutely. And in the moments of ticking that item off the list, that feels good, right? That fulfills my headspace need. This experience of meeting you, talking with you, interacting, with the folks that are on the stream with us today, that's the heart space fulfillment, right? So on the one hand, check it for the head, but then also make sure that it aligns with the heart. So for me, success is as equitably as important in the headspace it is in the heart space. And to understand that if you've got a 10-point list for your year, you might not get to everything. And that's a good thing, because again, you should have some reach goals. Not to say you shouldn't try, because you should, but give yourself grace, be kind to yourself. And know that if you don't get it this semester or this quarter or this year, it's not a no forever. It's just not right now. It's not the right time. So figure out how you can incorporate that into your longer term goals.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. As far as females, I kind of want to end with this. I love ending with some advice from my guest. But as far as the females out there right now who are, or males, females or males, who
however
are
you identify,
right out of college, what is the first 3 steps that these individuals should be taking when they're looking for a new career? What like, where do you even start?
Yeah, absolutely. So young professionals, and I said specifically right out of college. The first thing that I would look into is continuing education. And I say that not as a career academic. I know that can be a little biased. But I say continuing education can take the place or the form of many different things. I work in academia, so I don't have a lot of money. I tend to do things free. I go to a lot of LinkedIn webinars. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I, do a lot of things that cost little to no money. For me, that is a form of continuing education. In my full-time job, where I do have a little bit of money in professional funds, it might be specializing in a certificate. It might be going to a conference so that I can build out my network, right? Which is super important as you're starting your career. So continuing education is huge. Whatever that means to you, however much money you do or don't have, but it's really more of a mindset approach, not so much in the execution. I don't care what it looks like to you, just have that be as part of your identity, a lifelong learner mindset, right? The second thing or step in terms of looking for a career is that networking. And I have clients all the time that are like, I've applied to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs online, and I'm just not getting anywhere. Wow. And I always ask, for as many jobs as you're applying to online, how many people are you applying to? How many people are you connecting with? How many people are willing to go out and have a cup of coffee with you? How many people are willing to write you a recommendation, even if it's a short little paragraph on LinkedIn, right? You can have 500 connections on LinkedIn, and many people do. And 500 people in your sphere is really not that many people when you include childhood, high school, college, work, and all of that. But if you have 500 people who don't know how to say your name, it's probably not a very helpful network, right?
Yes.
You need to have this level of intimacy with people that actually move you forward in your goals, right? People who actually will advocate for you, that will put themselves out there for you, that will be a resource for you and be willing to show up and dialogue with you. So, continuing education, networking, and then lastly, starting with that why. When particularly with females, and I do work with a lot of female clients, where it's these bigger life questions, right? Where it's like, okay, if I go work at a consulting firm and I'm working 80 hours a week, how is that going to leave me time to have a family later in life? How is that going to leave me time or mental energy to even date, right? And not to say that's all women do is have families and date, but it's part of our lives. And as you said, this could equitably apply to men or however people identify. But it is, again, understanding the why of work, what that needs to look like for you, who are the people who can help you get there, and then knowing that it's a journey, right? That don't put all your eggs in that first job basket. Your first job may suck, and many people's first job does, but it's about taking the things that you've learned from that first job and getting to a place where it's a little bit better in the second job and a little bit better in the third job and a little bit more aligned with what you want to do or who you are in that fourth and fifth and sixth job, right? Yeah. So it might be, as a woman, 21 years old, you're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna sign up for that 80-hour-a-week job and I'm gonna make a ton of money. I'm gonna pay off my student loan debt and I'm gonna do all the things that I want to do. Cool. That's you. That's your empowerment. You have the audacity to do that. Run with it, right? Yeah. That doesn't mean that that's you forever. That's your identity for now until it no longer serves you. And to your point, pivoting, changing careers or whatever, you can continuously redefine what work looks like and means to you throughout your entire life.
You have a question.
What is your goal for 2022? Thank you, Cecilia. My biggest goal for 2022 is to be more present. And I say that as a person who has ADHD and is very very attracted to shiny things. But like I said, having the mental and emotional presence to be in the moment. I started running again, and it's horrendous. It's terrible. It hurts. My knees hurt. Talk about being 38. Oh my God. It doesn't feel good right now, but I am showing up for myself, and I'm being more present. That in a way, it's connecting things for me between the mental and the physical and the emotional and the spiritual. I don't forwardly talk a lot about spirituality within my coaching, but inevitably it always has some role. And it really is, these meta questions around, like I talk a lot about, what does work mean to you? And where do you get your beliefs around what work means to you from? Typically it's your parents, typically it's your family, typically it's those you surround yourself with. And however you exemplify spirituality in your life, for some people, it's sitting on YouTube watching city planner plays, do city building, and getting connected to a larger purpose of lifelong learning. That's spirituality for me. I love that. That's me showing up for myself, and I'm cool with that, right? Mm-hmm. For other people, it's more organized. So I think my big 2022 goal is, more presence, not thinking about the next 9 things I need to do, but really sitting in this moment right here, right now with you, and showing up for you and showing up for me.
Awesome. She says her husband has ADHD as well. Staying more present is a good goal to have. You will enjoy your life journey even more. Aw, very sweet. Very sweet. Thank you, Celia. Well, listen, Nadia, I so appreciate you hanging on and are hanging out with me. There's still tons of people watching us live, so that's awesome because we're well over an hour. So thank you so much for everyone who has joined us in and out of today's episode. I so appreciate you and appreciate your support. For those of you that are watching on the replay and watching all the way till this point, we thank you so much. Make sure you hashtag replay in the comments just so that we know that you were here and you were hanging out with us. And feel free to message Nadia with any questions or comments. Her website is right above her face area. So go ahead and check her out. I'm assuming your social media is in there.
It is, yes, and it is at Beyond Discovery Coaching. I predominantly hang out on Instagram and LinkedIn, and I know LinkedIn. A lot of people don't know the value of LinkedIn, but if you're not hanging out on LinkedIn, that's how Sabrina and I met. Yeah. If you're not hanging out on LinkedIn, get clued up on LinkedIn. It's a super cool platform. I could literally talk another hour just on the power of LinkedIn, and connect with me in any way that makes sense and feels good to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and I appreciate you, you chilling with us for a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and close up. Everyone who is watching us and hanging out with us, thank you so much for joining us here on Her Version. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you follow, like, and share. If you have an amazing story to share of struggle to triumph or success in any way, make sure you reach out to me or at herversion.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows individuals to share their truth and to inspire others, do something